Hi, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and today we're talking about the SLLA 6990, specifically Section 1, Strategic Leadership, even more specifically, the Vision, Mission, and Goals section of the test. Let's get started. All right, so today we're talking about strategic leadership. That is section 1 of the SLLA and the Praxis 5412 as well. They are very similar exams. And we are going to talk today about questions around the vision, mission, and goals. It's all part of the strategic leadership. I'm going to break it down for you, and then we're going to do a sample question. All right, so when you are thinking about vision, mission, and goals, I want you to think about an inverted pyramid where the biggest general one is at the top. We're getting a little more specific in the middle, and then we get really specific down at the bottom at that point. So picture an upside down triangle. At the top, which would be the base, it's the big long part, right? You have the vision, very general, very non-specific. And to me, in my own personal opinion, I don't think they really do much. I know a lot of companies use them. I know a lot of organizations use them. I don't really think you are going to change the world because you have a great vision statement. However, it is good to have some sort of identifier for your organization, and most companies and organizations like school districts and state agencies and things like that will choose a vision statement, but it's very broad. Okay. It's at the top of that upside down triangle. And it says something like this: ABC Elementary, to cultivate global citizens. I mean, what does that even mean, right? But it is sort of a good statement. Global citizens sound good. Okay, we'll do that. That's just that general statement. That's the vision, okay? Now, as you move down that upside down triangle towards the point in the middle there, you're going to have the mission. That's a little more specific than the vision, and it supports the vision. So everything works up to support that vision. And in the middle, the mission might be something like this: Southside High School. We cultivate a culture of dignity for educators, students, and families while empowering students to achieve. Notice it's still kind of vague. I mean, what does that really mean? We'll break it down in a second, but it is much more specific than that vision statement, which was sort of just that very vague statement, right? In the statement, we have the name of the school, right, which is much more specific than what we did the first time. And then it's talking about dignity for educators, students, and families. So it includes those stakeholders. Remember, stakeholders are anyone who is involved with the school. So whether it's teachers, principals, students, custodians, family members, everyone, anyone and everyone who is interacting with the school or school staff. And then it says, while empowering students to achieve. Okay. So now we have student achievement, but still empowering students to achieve. Achieve in what? What are we doing? So even though we've gotten a little more specific, it's still pretty general, but it does align with this specific school, Southside High School. Okay. Now we're down at the very point. Now we're down at the goals. These are much more specific. They are going to be aligned with that SMART acronym. And that acronym stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, right? It's specific enough that I know exactly what you're trying to do. It's measurable by either an assessment, an observation, some sort of measurement. It is attainable. We're not going to say, oh, we're going to get 100% of our students on grade level by the end of the year. It's just, you and I both know that's not going to happen. So we have to make sure we are ambitious, but we are not setting goals too far out of reach that we never attain them. They need to be relevant to what we're trying to do at the school. And of course, timely. You got to put a timestamp on it. Let's hear what a goal like that might sound like. Lincoln Middle will increase the number of students reading at grade level by 12% as measured by the state assessment at the end of 2026. And I might say by the end of May 2026, whenever they give that test. Every district gives those tests at different times. Notice that it is very specific. We're talking about the number of students reading at grade level. So it's specific in terms of it's a reading score. We're talking about reading, not math, not social studies, not all academics, right? And we're talking about a specific level at grade level, also called proficient readers or proficiency, whatever you want to call it. And then we have a specific percentage, 12%. Now, that's a big jump. 12% is a big jump. You could argue that that is not attainable. However, whoever wrote this goal might think that 12% is attainable based on the data that they looked at. So good. And then it says, as measured by the state assessment. Now, if you were at a specific school with a specific assessment, you might say, as measured by the blank assessment given by New Jersey Department of Education or whatever it is, right? You can be much more specific there. And then it says by May of 2026 or June of 2026. Notice that you have that timely stamp. So it's specific enough. It is measurable. We can measure it by giving kids a reading test. It is attainable, meaning we believe we can hit that goal. It's ambitious, but it's attainable, relevant, and of course, timely. So notice that we started off as the vision, which was super generic, super general. I have no idea really what you're talking about. Then we moved to mission, getting a little more specific, and then we get to the goals, which are aligned to our school's needs assessment, aligned to probably our school improvement plan, certainly aligned to the district goals. Those goals are going to align with all these other areas here. Now let's have a look at what that might look like on the test with a sample test question. All right, so a lot of questions on the SLLA 6990 and the Praxis 5412 will have these very big scenario-based questions. I always like to start with the answer choices first. Work backwards, especially on this test. Everything is a scenario with this particular exam, and working backwards helps with scenarios. Remember, we're looking for good words, we're eliminating bad words, and we're going to zero in on the correct answer. So let's go with A. Revise the mission to include general references to student achievement and discipline so all students are included. Well, I like all students are included. They're trying to get you into a trap here. But it's like we're just kind of throwing it out to the middle. General references, remember, in order for something to be very impactful, it needs to be specific enough. We're trying to meet the needs of all students by working with them on their specific needs, their specific talents, right? It's very difficult to do, but every school is trying to do it. So I don't like A for that particular reason. Certainly all students are included is really good, but in this case, we're just sort of lumping them with some general references, not specific enough, okay? B, update the mission to focus on accelerating achievement for students with special needs. All right, I kind of like that, but it says to focus on students with special needs. Now, if in this scenario up here, it's all about a school that is special needs focused, perhaps, but if we're just focusing on this one group of students, we are leaving students out. I think it's awesome that we want to include special education students, and we should, but we don't want to leave out everyone else. Remember, trying to be inclusive. So B is a little too specific and that it doesn't include everybody. C, facilitate stakeholder discussions. Okay, right away, stakeholder, the word stakeholder is a green flag for me. Discussions to define excellence, equity, and inclusion, then rewrite the mission with clear student-centered language. Okay, this has got all of this. I really like it. C is good. We've got the stakeholder discussions, which means we're including everyone. We're not just making up this mission statement on our own. And it's student-centered language. Student-centered is a good word as well. If you see that in an answer choice, probably the correct answer. So C's got my bullseye on it. D, adopt a mission from a neighboring school that has recently improved its ranking. I'm going to cross off D. Now, do people adopt mission statements and vision statements from other places? Sure. We're busy people. We don't want to sit there all day and try to think up a vision statement. Of course, in the real world, we are probably not doing all of these things the way they're supposed to be done. But C is the one with all the good stuff. B is still in the running, but C is my top. All right. So let's continue to work backwards and read this. Which of the following actions best supports the team in creating a more effective mission? I'm still between B and C, but C is still my number one. And then it says here, our school strives for excellence in academic and behavior, and several teachers expressed confusion about how the mission supports their instructional planning. A parent on the team asked how the mission accounts for student receiving special services. Now, here's where B is the distractor here, and you shouldn't pick it because they're pointing you in the direction of special needs and special services. Your mind is going there right before you get into the answer choices. This is why working backwards is so important. If you work backwards, you would pay more attention to C, which is the right answer. But if the last thing you read was receiving special services, even if you sort of know it's not as inclusive, because that's stuck in your mind at the end of this question, you may lean more towards B. But C, facilitates stakeholder discussion. That says, okay, the teachers and the parents need to have a discussion and refine, what does this mean? Excellence, equity, and inclusion. We have that excellence there, but maybe we need to figure out, add a few words in there to make it more inclusive, right? And then student-centered language. Yeah, this is kind of, I mean, academics and behavior students know what that means, but perhaps we want to make it a little more student friendly. So C's got it all, and we got it before we even had to read the question. All right, and think about that as well when you are doing the constructed response for the SLLA 6990. People tend to get to that constructed response and forget about all the things we talked about in the beginning of the book with the SMART goals and the specificity of the goals versus the mission statement. The fact that we need to get stakeholder input on these particular tasks, that we should not be doing this ourselves. Another thing we want to pay attention to is the data. We need to be pulling data first things first and having a look at it to see, we want to revise our vision, mission, and goals. Are you just doing it blindly and saying, hey guys, let's all get together and redo the vision? No, let's pull in that data. Let's have a discussion. Data is also talking to parents, talking to teachers, surveys, figuring out what people actually want, and then having that discussion with our stakeholders, and then forming a vision, mission, and goals statements so that we can better help support our school. All right, so these are just a few things that I'm digging into because I am working on a few new things with the SLLA. They are not ready yet. They will be. I will let you know they're not ready yet. I'm recording this video July 2025. So if you're watching it close to that, I'm probably not done. If you're watching it way in the future, I probably am. But I will be doing more and more things with this over the next couple of months. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll be happy to film on those issues. And let me know how you are doing. This test is very tough, so keep plugging away, keep taking a bite of that elephant, one bite at a time. That's what my mother always said to me. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and you will pass this exam. Let us know what you think and have a great day. Bye.